The old man collapsed under the harsh noon sun, right outside a crowded cafe where laughter, clinking cups, and hurried footsteps passed him by like he was invisible. His knees hit the pavement first, then his hands, trembling, thin, and bruised by a life of quiet endurance. People looked, slowed for half a second, and moved on. No one helped the Korean Mafia boss's father that day. No one. Until a black waitress noticed him and greeted him in Korean, changing the course of several lives forever. If you believe that kindness can appear in the most unexpected places and that second chances still exist in this world, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Tales. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. The man's name was Han Suk-jin, though no one around him knew that. To them, he was just another old foreigner with worn shoes and a coat too heavy for the warm daytime air. His hair was white, his posture bent, and his eyes carried the weight of decades spent raising a son who would later become one of the most feared men in the Korean underworld. Suk-jin had once been a factory worker, a gentle man who believed honesty and hard work were enough to protect a family. Life had proven him wrong. Poverty, illness, and desperation had shaped his son into someone Suk-jin barely recognized. And when that son rose to power through violence and fear, Suk-jin walked away. He chose loneliness over blood money, silence over protection, and exile over comfort. That decision left him here, alone in a foreign city, with no one to call and nowhere to fall except the cold pavement. The cafe he collapsed beside was busy, filled with the bright energy of lunchtime. Inside, Amani Brooks moved quickly between tables, balancing plates and refilling drinks. She was known among regulars for her calm smile and steady presence, a woman who carried herself with quiet dignity. Amani had grown up learning to see people others ignored. Her grandmother used to tell her that the world never ran out of cruelty, but it often ran short on attention. That belief had stayed with her, guiding her eyes beyond polished shoes and confident voices. When she glanced out the window and saw Suk-jin on the ground, something in her chest tightened. She stepped outside during her break, the sun warming her face, and approached him slowly. She noticed the way his hands shook and the confusion clouding his eyes. Then she did something no one else had thought to do. She greeted him in Korean, a language she had learned years ago while caring for an elderly neighbor who had no family. The words were simple, respectful, and gentle. The moment Suk-jin heard his mother tongue, his eyes filled with tears. For the first time that day, he felt seen as a human being, not a burden. Amani helped him sit upright and brought him water. She listened as he struggled to explain his dizziness and hunger, his pride wounded by needing help. She did not rush him or pity him. She treated him the way she would want her own father treated if he were alone in the world. She convinced her manager to let him rest inside, away from the sun, and brought him a warm meal paid for out of her own tips. As Suk-jin ate slowly, strength returned to his body, and with it, memories he had buried deep. He spoke of his homeland, of working long hours, of a son he loved but no longer recognized. Amani listened without judgment, unaware that the man before her was connected to a powerful and dangerous world. What neither of them knew was that Suk-jin's son, Kang Dae-hyun, had been searching for him for years. Despite his ruthless reputation, Dae-hyun carried a wound that never healed. The day his father walked away. Power had brought him wealth, influence, and fear, but not peace. Recently, he had received a rumor that his father might be living somewhere in this city. That knowledge haunted him, pulling him out of sleepless nights and into the daylight streets, where he sent men to quietly search without causing alarm. That same afternoon, one of Dae-hyun's men spotted Suk-jin sitting inside the cafe, wrapped in a borrowed sweater, drinking tea. They reported back immediately. Within minutes, sleek cars lined the street, and the atmosphere shifted. Customers whispered nervously as sharply dressed men entered the cafe, their presence heavy and unmistakable. Amani felt fear ripple through her, but she did not abandon Suk-jin. She stood near him, her body instinctively protective. When Dae-hyun entered, time seemed to slow. He was tall, composed, and cold on the surface, but the moment his eyes landed on his father, something inside him cracked. The old man looked smaller than he remembered, frilier, and painfully human. Dae-hyun knelt in front of him without caring who watched. Years of anger, regret, and longing collided in that silent moment. Sukjin looked at his son, recognition dawning slowly, followed by tears that traced lines down his weathered face. The reunion was not loud or dramatic. It was heavy, quiet, and full of unspoken pain. Daehyun learned how his father had been ignored, how he had collapsed outside a cafe, and how a stranger had been the only one to help. His gaze shifted to Amani, and for the first time in years, gratitude softened his hardened expression. He understood then that power meant nothing without humanity, and that kindness could reach where fear never could. Daehyun arranged immediate medical care for his father and ensured he would never be alone again. But he did more than that. He returned to the cafe days later, alone this time, and thanked Amani not with threats or money alone, but with sincerity. He funded a foundation in her name that supported elderly immigrants, those most likely to be overlooked. He used his influence to quietly protect the vulnerable instead of exploiting them, beginning a slow transformation that shocked even his closest allies. For Sukjin, healing was not instant, but it was real. He moved into a peaceful home, surrounded by sunlight and care. He and his son began the long process of reconciliation, built not on excuses, but on accountability. And for Amani, life continued much the same on the surface. But inside, she carried the knowledge that one moment of kindness had rippled outward in ways she could never have imagined. As the story spread quietly among those involved, it became a reminder that daylight kindness matters. That even in the middle of a busy day, when the world seems too loud and too rushed, stopping to see another person can change destinies. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of compassion, please take a moment now to like this video, comment your feelings, and share it with others who need hope. And before this story ends, we have one special request for you. Please comment one word below that represents what kindness means to you. The old man who collapsed in the sun did not just find help that day. He found dignity, connection, and a bridge back to his son. And the waitress who spoke a familiar language proved that the smallest acts, done in the light of day, can reach even the darkest corners of the human soul.